So this is the second of our case updates where we can dig a bit deeper and answer your questions. I want to start with some shocking news though. My wife Eva, who you heard there and in episodes 1 and 5, has still not listened to a single episode because she is too scared. Thank you to all the people who have listened though, and it's been really amazing to see how people have been launching their own personal investigations. A lot of the focus seems to have been on the house and the geography of Wycliffe Road. Sam Whitfield from Wales asked if subsidence could have been causing the noises, and I guess potentially even objects moving. He's found a map from the late 18th century that shows the site of number 63 was on the edge of Clapham Common, marked as marshland. So we do know that the Hitchings landlord actually arranged for building surveyors to come round, I think on more than one occasion, and they found no evidence of anything structurally unsound. Also on the subject of the actual land, Evelyn Hollow, our expert in our last case update, told us about her research which had found an acetic acid factory on the site of the house in the 1800s. And Julian Dutton has tweeted saying, "Does anyone know if acetic acid causes madness? Pollution of soil for 150 years? Can vinegar send you bonkers?" Brilliant theory, though the response generally seems to be, unfortunately, no. Of course, people have been wondering a lot about the individual family members as well. And that's where this becomes a fascinating detective story with lots of different personalities, different suspects, if you like. And it works whether you're a skeptic or a believer, because, of course, you can feel that one of the family is faking phenomena, but there's also that theory that it's the energy from a person that creates a poltergeist. One member of the household who's had a surprising amount of scrutiny that I didn't expect is the cat. Here he is with Chip.
I have a little study at home. Endless piles of paper. My wife says I'm obsessed.
With what?
The dead.
So I had emails from Deborah Moffat and Gareth Evans, both wanting to know, did the cat display any unusual behaviour when things were happening? Gareth says if anything out of the ordinary occurs, like a loud noise or a visitor, cats make themselves very scarce, sometimes for hours or days. So he feels that if that didn't happen, it could be a sign that this was a hoax. Well, I asked Shirley about the cat. He's called Jeremy, by the way, and she told me that he was often distressed, his back would arch, his fur would stand on end. He was clearly troubled by the atmosphere in the house, but nothing about him running away and hiding.
What's he staring at?
They see things that we don't.
It's freezing.
She's shaking, Mum.
I could keep going on with your theories forever. There's so many good ones. And I think absolutely keep looking into the house. But we also need to pursue another line of inquiry now, after that big revelation in episode 5, that the noises can follow Shirley.
Would you call it a knock? Or maybe more of a tap?
I mean, he bangs too, but I suppose mostly it's like a tap.
Right. Tap, tap.
It follows me sometimes, even to work. I ended up getting sacked because of it. But I've had an exorcism to get rid of him.
So the event Shirley's describing to Ronald Maxwell there takes place while she's working at Selfridges, the big department store on Oxford Street in London. This is actually before the exorcism. Her aunt had managed to get her a job as a dress cutter in the alterations department. So, Shirley, this was your first job after school, wasn't it?
They thought that it would be good for me to get out of the house and go to work. And because I like to sew, there was a position of a junior in the workrooms up there, and I went for an interview and got the job.
Shirley, trousers, formal. Customer needs them taking up 2 inches.
Yes, miss, I'm on it.
Patricia, evening dress. Waist needs taking in.
Yes, miss. What's that? Oh, God. Donald. He's followed me. It's so weird.
What's going on?
She's possessed, miss.
Shirley Hitchings, stop this.
It's not me, miss.
It's a ghost boyfriend.
Enough. You're scaring everyone.
I'm sorry, I can't control it. Don't, please stop it. Leave me alone.
So what happened next?
I'd been there, I don't know how long, when the scissors started to disappear. There was about a dozen women in the workroom and they would call out, "My scissors are gone, who's had my scissors?" And I think in the end there was 5 or 6 pairs of scissors missing. And I was sent to the manager's office, and then that's when I spilt the beans that I'm the poltergeist girl. And I was taken to the resident doctor, and he demanded that if it is, bring those scissors back now. And I said, I haven't got them. They called in this nurse to strip search me, take my clothes off, and I was searched to see if I had them on my person, you know, tucked down me knickers or in me bra. And I felt really degraded. They never found anything. And I got the immediate sack.
So another really huge revelation there. If you're a believer that this is a genuine paranormal case, we not only have noises following Shirley, we have objects disappearing. Think back to the key. And if you're a skeptic, what is going on here? Certainly around this point, everywhere that Shirley goes, work, neighbours' houses, even on the bus, people are reporting witnessing strange things happening around her. The most public of these moments comes at the height of the media storm when Shirley is asked to appear on the BBC's Highlight programme. It's a live magazine-style show that's broadcast at 7 p.m, hosted by Cliff Mitchellmore. He's a future legend of the BBC. In years to come, he'll front the coverage of the moon landings and the JFK assassination.
We're now coming to the moment, the last moments of Apollo 13, as it comes in, as it begins its re-entry. The best thing we can do now is just to listen and hope. The Warren report said, once again, that Lee Harvey Oswald shot the president from his window in the Texas School Book Depository.
He's a journalistic heavyweight, basically, and he's going to interview Shirley about her poltergeist live at BBC TV Centre.
We went up on the bus and the tube. Dad took me, but when we got to the studio, Donald was banging. He did bang. We were waiting in the green room, is it? And they were asking me questions, and Cliff Mitchell, I remember, came out to me before the programme started, and he introduced himself and told me that he'd be asking me questions. And Donald was tapping on, they had like little coffee tables, and he was tapping quietly on the table, and they all heard it. "Oh, great, are you going to come on the television?" he was saying. And I was really, really, nervous.
So there's Shirley there. Now, I'm just going to quickly call my co-producer Simon, because he's turned up something interesting on this particular bit of the story.
Hello, Danny.
Hello, Simon. So, Simon, some people are probably thinking that Shirley's exaggerating this, or even making it up. But you've done a bit of digging online, haven't you? And you've actually found this quite amazing thing that has Cliff talking about it.
Yeah, it's an old book. It's called the Television Annual for 1958.
So this is back in the days when there were only 2 TV channels in the UK. And Cliff was a pretty big star, wasn't he?
Yeah, and there's a piece here by him about what it's like to do his job. There's a nice picture of him relaxing at home with his wife, Jean. And on page 119, he's talking about how you always have to be on the ball doing live TV. And he says this: "You can never be sure, you see, that you may not introduce a film of a political party congress and have the chimpanzees tea party turn up instead. That someone will not turn up in a suit identical to yours. And, this is the bit, that the poltergeist in whom you've been showing an obvious disbelief will not manifest itself loudly in protest by rapping on the studio floor. these things have happened.
It's amazing, isn't it? That this is 2 years after he did his interview with Shirley, so it's obviously made a really big impression on him.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And here it is, it's in black and white. It happened, as you said.
I find it incredible, this idea that here was this huge journalistic heavyweight trying to channel Donald live on television with Shirley.
Yeah, and the amazing thing is that no one remembers this. This is basically the only trace of this ever happening is somewhere in the sort of darker realms of the internet.
I know, it's incredibly sad that in those days they wiped all the tapes and reused them, didn't they? So we don't have that video record of Shirley being on this programme. But yeah, this is amazing.
Yeah.
So we come back to that thing again, multiple witnesses. We have people backing up Shirley's story that the phenomena follows her. But, of course, as the Weekend Mail expose raised, just because people are hearing tapping or banging doesn't mean it's paranormal. Quite a few of you have been asking about the hammer toe theory and wanting to know more about that. So I want to get an expert opinion on if it's even worth considering. And a Google of people who know about feet has led me to the Soul Body Soul Foot Clinic in Dundee, Scotland, run by Dr. Bharti Rajput, otherwise known as Dr. B. So Dr. B, I want to talk to you about a mysterious toe. The allegation is that Shirley, this girl at the heart of our case, is making loud clicking noises because of a condition called hammer toe. Now, is that possible?
So a hammer toe is a toe where there's a bend in the middle of the joint. So if you have a hammer toe, I'm actually just going to get a little skeleton out, a foot skeleton, just to show you.
Oh, wow, okay. A genuine skeleton?
No, this is a plastic one.
Oh, okay.
So if you look at, this is what a hammer toe would look like.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay, so it sort of slides across, knocking into the other toe.
So if you had quite bad arthritis in the joint, you could actually get some sort of popping or cracking from the big toe joint.
It's really interesting you say that, Dr. B, because Shirley's mum had chronic arthritis. Is there a hereditary nature to that?
There is, absolutely. So it could be, sometimes arthritic joints can become locked in some ways, because what's happening is they're losing the cartilage in between the joint that helps the joint through a full range of movement. So that could produce a sound.
So essentially, we're saying that if you had a quiet room of people sitting in a focused seance environment and they're expecting a ghost to talk to them, that sound of a bone clicking could potentially trick people into thinking that someone or something is knocking.
Yes.
But then in our case, we also have this noise heard by neighbours next door and even out on the street. There's no way on earth that a toe bone could generate that level of noise, is there?
No, because so if I tell you a bit about my practice, we've got a 4-treatment room practice. And, certainly if one is doing the procedure on a patient in one room, there is absolutely no way you'd hear it, even in adjoining rooms. So that's a bit doubtful.
How loud could a toe bone crack be?
I'm just trying to think of an example in day-to-day life so that, people can relate to what it could sound like.
Is it this loud?
That's probably too loud, I think.
Well, what about this? That actually sounds quite creepy.
That could sound quite creepy. And actually, that is actually the how loud. Yeah, it could be. Absolutely. And if you had a way of being able to do it repeatedly, which I guess even I can, I can, if I wanted to crack and make a sound, I could do it.
So I think what is really interesting here is that we're saying this is somebody who's got a history of ballet dancing. Her mother has chronic arthritis. So there are certain things in place that suggest that there could have been a deformity with a toe that could generate this click noise.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Sorry, there is one crucial question I haven't asked you. So the Weekend Mail was saying that Shirley was doing this without realising, that it was a subconscious thing. Do you think you could get yourself into such a state of panic if you believe there is a ghost in your house and you're frightened? Could you get into that state of hysteria where you're just not aware of how your body is behaving?
Absolutely. I think it's that fight or flight, isn't it? And the body could react. And it's a bit like, I guess it's a subconscious thing. So I don't see why it couldn't be possible with muscles.
So there you have it. The hammer toe theory is in the mix as a way to explain some of the noises that follow Shirley, potentially. But I just want you to think about this. If you were in a room with someone, even a dark and spooky room and you heard this noise, would you be tricked into thinking that that was someone tapping out a message? Would you keep on thinking that if it continued over hours, days, weeks and months? Would Cliff Mitchellmore, an experienced, wily journalist, have been tricked? I don't know, but it's in the mix. Clearly, Shirley ardently refutes that idea. She says, yes, she did have a hammer toe, but the idea that she was producing Donald's noise is rubbish. And you can hear in this interview clip from her just how worked up she got about it. I hope it didn't upset you talking about the Ronald Maxwell, John Knight, Daily Mail stuff.
No, I don't get upset now. It's okay. But it did bring it back. I said to Derek, if I saw them today, I'd wring their necks.
They hung you out to dry, really, didn't they?
Yeah, took my dad in as well, which, I know we weren't a highly intelligent academic family, as though they were laughing at us and treating us like dirt, wasn't it? Looking back on it and thinking now, talking about it, it makes me feel angry, but as you said, it's all in the past and I don't let things get on me now, not at my age.
There's one other little fact off the back of that. We heard at the beginning of Ep 5 about the reason the exorcism had been raided by police. Somebody had tipped them off that black magic was being practiced, and the thinking was that it was a journalist. Well, there's a photo in a newspaper article about the raid that shows the police on the doorstep confronting Harry Hanks's wife, and there is a journalist standing there behind them. And that journalist is Ronald Maxwell. After the Mail article came out, Shirley and her family were furious, and they felt determined to prove to the world that Donald was entirely real. And next episode, we'll hear how they set about doing that in spectacular and pretty creepy fashion. That's all we have time for in this case update. Thank you so much for all your questions and theories, and also all those people who've been sending me their own experiences. I hope that we will get to explore those in a bonus episode. I find it fascinating that across the world and throughout history, people have been having these similar experiences. Something is going on here. What is it? Keep the emails coming to batterseapoltergeist@bbc.co.uk or find me, Danny Robbins, on social media. And there's one other thing I want to tell you about, something we'd like you to get involved in. We're going to be releasing episode 7, specially early, on Wednesday the 24th of February. And we're planning a live listen along at exactly 9 p.m. that night. So you can join me and our experts on Twitter, listening live with the lights off. Tweet us your questions and we'll try and answer them. And we'll be sticking around afterwards for a live discussion too. So it's another great way to let us know your theories and also pick our brains on the case. So we began this episode with my 5-year-old son telling you that ghosts and monsters don't exist. We've got 3 episodes left to see whether or not that is true.